Welcome to the fourth episode of the Billion Dollar Broker podcast. My name is Ross Lacane. I'm bringing my 25 years industry experience together with the leading experts around the globe to give you the insights on how to live a better life and grow a profitable mortgage broking business you are proud of. Today we have Otto Dargan from Home Loan Experts joining me. This was recorded back in February prior to the coronavirus becoming what it is today. The information is still great information, so wanted to share it with you. So please enjoy. Hi, my name is Ross Lacane. Welcome to the Billion Dollar Broker podcast. I've got a special guest with me today, Otto Dargan from Otto Home Loan Experts. Welcome, Otto.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So firstly, just tell me a little bit about Home Loan Experts, how you got started, and a little bit about the business.
Yeah, so I started as a broker when I was 18.
18, wow.
18, yeah. So I really had no idea what I was doing. But I think back then the industry was pretty new. And so I've been able to watch the industry grow as I've grown as well. So I worked for a mortgage manager for 4 years before starting my own business in 2006.
Okay, interesting. And so were you a broker straight off the bat at 18?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. I didn't initially get a great deal of training, but I had some great mentors. And so over time, I learned quite a lot there at the mortgage manager. And it really helped me when I did become a broker.
Yeah, really okay. Good. So you were doing back office stuff?
No, I was straight away a broker.
Straight into it?
Day one, yeah.
Yeah, wow. And what year was that?
That would have been, I think, 2002, 2003, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. I started about 2001. So
yeah, different world back then.
Yeah, definitely. You know, back with the calculator and the paper application. So yeah, definitely. So that was how you got started. Yeah. And then, so Home Loan Experts, when did that come along?
So in 2006, I started Home Loan Experts, and my business plan was to have about 3 staff or thereabouts. And so I just started working, actually it was run from a share house. I was sharing a house with some friends. And so the business was on the couch.
Yeah.
And so I had my phone and my printer, and that was the business.
And so back in the day, how did you go about generating leads? You know, obviously it's a startup brand, you know, you've started your business, you've got a couple of years experience, you're all of 22, 23 years old. Yeah. So how did you go about, generating business back then?
I spent a lot of time going to events, getting to meet people, particularly going to any property investment events or seminars or anything like that.
Yeah.
I purchased some leads online, which that was a bit of a disaster. And then every client I did get, I really worked hard to make sure I get referrals as well. Okay.
So do you remember in that first year what sort of volumes you would have done in your first year?
I can't remember, but it certainly, the first 6 months in particular wasn't great.
Yeah.
And, I started in 2006 and we know what happened in the following 2 years, right? So then pretty much my business got turned upside down with the GFC. But interestingly, I found the GFC was actually probably the best thing that happened to my business because there was so many people wanting to buy a property and get a loan, but the banks were all over the place. And the broker market was all over the place.
I know, like a month to get a loan approval by the time that you picked up your file and you need to resubmit all the documentation. Some crazy time.
And back then, of course, there were times the bank would just lose the file, so that was always fun.
Yeah.
But the GFC ended up being really good for my business because we had a large amount of demand, and at the same time, the banks were letting go a lot of their really good staff.
Yeah.
And so there was an opportunity for businesses that wanted to grow. It was easier to bring brokers into the business at that time.
Oh, definitely. And I think, when looking at times to grow, it's quite often when the market's down, it creates those opportunities because a lot of people are sort of go into their shells where if you can seize those opportunities. I know back then we did a similar sort of thing. We combined a number of branches and got on the phones and our business, we had our best year definitely in that year. So you took that opportunity around the GFC. And so how many staff did you have at that time?
We grew to, it was kind of progressive each year. We grew a little bit. We during the GFC, I think we went from 1 to 5 or 6 staff.
Yeah, wow.
Or brokers, and then we continued to grow over time with that.
And where were your leads coming in order to obviously put additional brokers on at that point?
So initially, it was all coming from my personal referrals and networks and things like that. But then we started building a website and trying to generate some internet leads. And that creates a lot of volume, but it doesn't necessarily create profit because the percentage of those leads that convert is obviously a bit lower.
Yeah.
But the advantage of having a marketing source is that it's a lot easier to delegate marketing leads to your brokers than it is to delegate your own personal customers who usually want to deal with you.
Oh, exactly. And you know, with other brokers looking to grow a business, I know we're going to talk about this more later, but you know, quite often you see that the perfect time for them to bring on a new broker is when they're self-generating to the point that they're at their capacity, and that they've got excess leads to then bring someone in to look to be able to feed them, because they need that to be able to get started and to start that transition and growth, I guess.
Yeah, it's essential. If you're going to bring brokers in and you don't have any leads, then you're setting them up to have a really hard time to become a broker.
Oh, definitely. You're setting up it to fail, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's so. All right, so that's around 2009, and so what really sort of kickstarted Home Loan Experts after that?
So I think the next big step for us, so the GFC, there was building our website. The next big step was me trekking in Nepal.
Okay.
Which you might see. We've got a picture.
Yeah, I've just been to Nepal myself, so it looks very familiar. Yeah, very familiar.
So I had a friend who wanted to go to Everest Base Camp, and he convinced me to come along, and I didn't even know where Nepal was. I didn't know anything about Nepal. I thought everyone had pet yaks and was a Sherpa, which is not the case, I assure you.
No, definitely beautiful people, mate.
Very beautiful people. So I went along and had a great time on the trek, and while I was in Kathmandu, I met someone who was exceptionally smart. And I was just blown away by his knowledge of the global financial markets and his understanding of business. And I was just stunned at the level that he was at. And so I actually offered him a job on the spot. And so that's how we started having a team in Nepal. And that was in
So he was your first Nepal staff, and just met him randomly on a trek, and that's how your whole Nepal office started. I've just come back from Nepal, and I visited your office, and it's 160 strong and consistently growing. So yeah, amazing story. So how did it get from one to many?
Yeah, it was very chaotic at the beginning, and I think starting an overseas office, it's I look back now and I wonder how we did it, because we really had no idea what we were doing. There's a totally different legal system, totally different culture. When people are brought up with a different belief system completely, there's a big gap, that you've got to cross there. And also, it's understanding the different strengths and weaknesses of different teams. Like we find an Australian team is really good at innovation, whereas our team in Nepal, they'll be really, really good at implementation. And so when you can get the two to work together well, you can get the best of both worlds.
And that's exactly what you need in a business. So, I've heard Mark Burris say on a LinkedIn thing yesterday, cutting and sewing. Right? He's a great cutter, and he's got a team that comes back and sews behind him. So that's exactly what you're saying. You've got your Australian team, that's the innovators, and then you've got your Nepali team that are the doers that get the stuff done. Yeah,
that's it. And then there's quite a few people in our Nepal team that are becoming innovators. The challenge with an offshore team is that they don't have the same exposure to Australia and the banks and to customers and the property market that we do here in Australia. So they've got the intelligence, but they're not enabled with the experience.
Exactly.
And so it's how you bring that diversity of thought to your team overseas is very important.
Yeah, I was really impressed when I was over there, and I did a session on self-managed super funds, which is probably one of the most technical things that you can discuss. And we were talking about it, and I was really impressed by the level of expertise that a lot of your staff had with such a technical product. So yeah, it blew me away.
We train them well, and we hold them to a high standard. So
exactly. So it's that whole training piece. So you went from one staff. Let's go backtrack a little bit. So you went from one staff in 2014,
2012.
2012. Okay. And then how did the growth progress from there?
Yeah, so we started off very chaotically. We kind of hired haphazardly. We had our team all working from home. We didn't have an office. Eventually, when finally we got foreign investment approval with the Nepalese government, which that was a whole nother, let's not even get into that. Yeah. Then we founded our office and we started to grow our team. I think we were very lucky in that the first person that I employed over there was at a very, very high level. And I think that's very important with your business, is that the first few people you employ, they've got to be amazing.
They've got to be,
I would even go as far as say everyone you employ should be amazing.
Yeah.
But that enabled us to grow. Yeah. And we had many hard lessons along the way. From like in Nepal, at the early days, it was kind of like camping. You kind of had to bring everything yourself. So we had a generator for electricity, we had multiple internet connections. Now things are a lot more stable there and everything's pretty fine. And we had a lot of challenges with hiring initially because the market over there is quite different in terms of labour. And so we see that there's different strengths and weaknesses over there to Australia.
Yeah.
And so what we ended up doing is finding certain groups of students that were particularly good for hiring.
Yeah, I noticed you had a really dynamic young team there, and a little bit different to an office you'd see in Australia. They're super smart, super switched on, really intelligent, and a really great feel of what's going on in the market. But yeah, definitely a young feel for your team, for sure.
I think that's an important point for all brokers, is that there's not just niches in terms of customers, there's niches in terms of staff. And so I see that there's a lot of brokers in Australia that have hired working mums or young people and bringing them into the industry. But for each business, what they need and what the solutions will be different. And so we've found different niches in hiring as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. And I know in my business, we looked at what was the needs of the business. Sometimes you're looking to groom someone to become in a broker role. So you might take on your loan process might be more a trainee type. Sometimes you're looking just for someone stable that's going to be happy to stay in that sort of role for a number of years. So you might choose your mum that's got a couple of kids that wants to work 9 to 5, be out the door at 5 o'clock, and is quite happy to work close to home. So I think you're exactly right in that, in terms of what does the business really need at this point in time, or what will it need in 2 to 3 to 5 years time, because you want to groom someone to grow into the roles that you're really looking for down the track.
Exactly right.
And I know we were talking about that with your different roles and your broker stuff, because you've actually got a few people from Nepal working in your office. So you've groomed them all the way up from coming in to your admin team and then working through. Yeah.
We great stories. One of our brokers, Mohit, he was working selling buses in Nepal, of all things.
Okay.
And he saw an ad with us to become a loan processing specialist. He didn't know what that was. He didn't know what mortgage broking was. He knew of Australia, but he'd never been there.
Yeah.
But he saw the salary. The salary was slightly higher, so he applied for the job. He got the job, and he didn't really know anything about what we were doing. But Mohit worked really, really hard. We promoted him from being support to being one of our post-settlement support, so looking after all our settled clients. And then he started to learn how to assess loans and do credit. And then he eventually came to Australia as a broker, and he's done really, really well here. So he's been on the full journey, and I think he's been with us about 4 years now.
Yeah, so his level of expertise, and for other people looking to hire people, he's got the home loan expert's way.
Yeah.
He understands the product, he understands the back office, and now he's graduated to the point where he's a successful broker. So and very loyal to you and to your team.
And it's think of it like in terms of business, you've got to think of what is the valuable final product of your business. And for most broking businesses, it's a settled loan is the valuable final product. And we've kind of had a shift in mindset in that our valuable final product, it's still a settled loan, but it's also a highly competent staff member.
Exactly.
So we kind of see ourselves as like a training academy, and we've really shifted towards having a big focus on hiring and training.
Which, and you look at the market, you look at the successful brokers, and the way they get the majority of their clients is through repeat or referral business, right? And it's exactly what you're saying. It's about creating that customer experience with a well-trained, developed person to get, that end result, which is a happy customer. It's not even about a set of dollars at the end of the day. All you want is those relationships and those connections with those people. So I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about business strategy and about your advice for people if they are looking to take their business to the next level, and what's your sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah, so strategy is something that we have tried many different things. I'd say 80% of what we've tried has failed pretty miserably, and 10% has been phenomenal, and 10% is kind of average. So firstly with strategy, accept that there's going to be a lot of failure. You can do all the research you want, but most stuff, when the plan touches the real world, everything just blows up, right?
Exactly. Failing forward, we like to call it in our business. Right. Failing forward, that's the only way you can learn.
Opportunities to learn.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So what I believe the easiest thing for most brokers is look at what you're doing already that already works and focus on it.
Yes.
So that means actually it's not about doing new things, it's about cutting out the things that are not working.
Yes.
So that you can focus on that one thing that is working really well for you. Typically it's a niche of some kind.
Definitely.
So I saw another connective broker at a function, and I was talking to her about her business, and she had ended up really, really close with the Afghani community. And she's not Afghani, and she's got no connection with them otherwise, but she just happened to have one client who referred another, who referred another. Next thing she knows, she's the trusted broker that everyone goes to.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was talking to her about her strategy, and she was kind of surprised that this is how her business has ended up. It was definitely not her plan, nor was my plan to go to the top, but it just happened. And so I was talking to her about it, and I was saying, well, maybe it's time to start learning the language. Maybe it's time to hire an Afghani staff member. Maybe it's time to go all in on that strategy and focus on it because it's a great community and it's working well for you. Just do more of what you're already doing.
Exactly. It reminds me of, my niche, which was the property investment space, right? So before I even got into that space, I've read all the property investment articles, I've read all the profiles, I've read lots of the property investment books, and then it came to if I'm going to attract these clients, I better have a portfolio myself. So I went and got to build up a property portfolio myself. So you become the expert in that niche, and then it's very hard for other people to strategically compete because you're so entrenched in what you do, and I guess which leads on to you and your niches.
Yeah, so for us, we initially started focusing on good customers who were let down by our industry.
Yeah.
So it could be that their situation was really complicated, like maybe a self-managed super fund, or it could be that they're outside normal lending criteria, maybe 3 months in a casual job or something like that. And but over time, it's really evolved and it's become more about the transaction. So it's been more about purchases.
Yes. Okay.
And we're now evolving again to be more about our past clients.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's common sense, but for every broking business, your past clients it's the low hanging fruit.
Exactly. I say that all the time. To build a strategy and to like the credit niches and the thing takes many years, but the low hanging fruit is to provide great service to the client and then to get on the phone, see what other needs and if they've got any people that they can send to you. It's a no-brainer.
And yet so few brokers do it. And so you've got to look at why brokers don't call their past clients. And it's usually because they're too busy. And so what I see, it's about the broker, again, about strategic focus, about saying no to certain things so that they can do that high payoff activity, which is, maybe if it's just calling 3 past clients every day.
Oh, exactly.
Which is pretty achievable.
Exactly. And you start the numbers low and then they'll see the results, come from just 3 phone calls, right? It's very achievable, but you do it every day. It's 15 clients for the week and then it's 60 clients for the month, right? So that's 60 more than they have previously been contacting, and the value to their business is exponential. And obviously, I think this is going to lead into where we're going around sort of the changing role of a broker and the different sort of ways that a broker can leverage their time, and I call it the ultimate loan process in terms of looking at what does give that client that best experience to get them through to settlement, and what are the key things in this changing marketplace with everything that's happened with the Royal Commission, with all the APRA changes from going back 5-6 years ago, to the best interest duty, to the review that's coming up in a couple of years' time. All this is adding complexity to the lending. So tell me a little bit about, we've had this conversation offline, but tell me a little bit about what you see as your ultimate loan process, and what are the key things that a broker should be focusing on? What's the key activities that a broker should be focusing on?
I see it as that the broker role maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it was quite possible for one person just to be a broker, see clients, submit the loans all themselves. And that worked. In the modern day and age, it's so complicated. I just don't think that it's a role for one person. You see that the compliance side has added a lot of complexity. You see that credit has become a lot more complicated. There's now so many little rules that can catch you out. And I see as well that post-settlement, most brokers are just not doing it. The reality. And that's all the top brokers are, but it's a missed opportunity for a lot of people out there. So what I see, the solution we came up with is that we've broken up the broker role to be multiple roles rather than just one role. So most broking businesses, what they do is they have broker and they have support staff. So it's two roles. We've actually split it up into about 5 or so. So we have a inside sales team who handle the initial customer inquiry. And they filter out inquiries that are low value. And the goal of them is to make sure that the client is contacted as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
Then we've got the broker, who predominantly their job is, think of them as like the project manager for the loan. So their job is to talk to the client, do a preliminary, yes, this looks like a deal, and get the documents together. Then we have a credit analyst, which their job is to assess the loan and to, based on the broker's notes, to make a good recommendation. The broker will present that to the client. If that's all looking good, then we proceed now to our support staff who will submit the loan and manage it all the way to settlement. And then we have our post-settlement team who handle everything thereafter, all the annual reviews. And by having that as a separate team, it means it'll definitely get done. because the brokers are always busy, and so we've just taken that responsibility off them altogether.
Yeah. So just, going through those, so the internal sales, the broker, and then the credit analyst piece. And I think, in talking, this is and in our business we had a similar sort of thing, because it became so complex, and especially, dealing with investment clients, and you deal with a lot of complex lenders. To do one serviceability calculator for someone with 8 to 10 properties can take, sometimes while you vet everything and go through the statements in detail and check off, it can take 45 minutes to an hour. So if you're looking at the broker's hourly rate, and most brokers would like to earn in the vicinity of, let's say $200 an hour. Ideally, they'd like to earn. Is it the best use of their time to do that? When I can get someone, in your case, you've got a wage in the call, so it's going to be a little bit cheaper. In our case, it was an in-house person. Someone that is probably more skilled, because, as you said, to get a broker that has the skills to have the sales ability, the detail to deal with compliance and going through the statements as you need to these days with a fine-tooth comb, going through every expense and making sure that there's nothing there that we've missed, and then going into the complex servicing and calculators, and then having the patience to deal with the banks, and then to provide all the way to sell. You don't have one person with all of those skills.
No, never.
So by doing what you're saying, it's exactly right. You're splitting up the skill sets. Let the broker do what he's good at, and then the credit analyst, which is becoming a more unique sort of skill sets. And it's something, that I think that differentiates your business apart, that you've really invested in sort of the training and this particular role.
Yeah, and I see this with a lot of top brokers. They're doing it not necessarily the same way we've done it, but generally some kind of breaking the top broker's role into multiple roles. Some of them, they have someone whose job it is to set the appointment with the client, get them to come into the office, give them the list of documents, make sure they bring all the documents. And then the broker only does, a half hour or so appointment with that client, and then it's handed over to the credit person. And so they've got a slightly different structure, but they have multiple staff to support that one broker.
Oh, exactly. I think in this day and age, for anyone writing a decent number of volume, it has to be something similar to that. But I guess the point of caution and for the brokers out there is that at the end of the day, their name goes on that deal. So process is important, but compliance is very important, right? Because you use your couple of accreditations, one accreditation, your whole business can potentially be at risk. So I like the way that you've done it, where you've also almost got that your own internal credit analyst, which becomes like a QA for the broker. It assures the quality that the broker's putting up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And because you can systemize the process that a credit analyst goes through, they can make sure that all the compliance boxes are ticked quite easily. Whereas you'll find that a broker typically will be focused on talking to customers, and very often, generally salesmen in any business tend to cut corners on processes because they want to speak to clients. And you kind of need that, but at the same time, you need compliance as well. So again, it's better just to separate the two roles.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as compliance is continuing to increase, and the level of compliance and note taking with the best interest duty just around the corner, compliance isn't going away anytime soon, right? So it's about thinking, well, what's a better structure and what's a better ultimate loan process for me and my business? Because as we've found in our business, I think, and we'll probably finish up with the tips to scale, but I think that leverage is definitely one of the key ways to scale a business.
Absolutely. Yeah, so tips for scaling a business. So I think when you're a small business, you've got to identify probably a self-awareness. What are you actually good at? What are you not good at?
Yeah.
And what do you hate doing? What do you love doing?
Oh, definitely, because that gives you energy, right?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
so your staff can see how you show up every day.
Yeah.
And as the leader of that business, it's really important that you show up full.
Yes.
Right? Because they feed off you, and you are the driving force of that business. So love that point.
Yeah. So you set the tone. So if you figure out the things you don't like, things you're not good at, hire someone who loves that and is good at it.
Definitely.
And then you're going to do better as a business, and you're going to enjoy your business a lot better.
Exactly.
So that's a good first hire, is what I would say. But I think every few years you've got to identify, because over time your business will change and you'll notice new gaps in your business.
Definitely.
And as you grow, new gaps appear, and so then you need to hire to fill those gaps so that you don't get overwhelmed. And I think this is why so many brokers are trapped in their business, is that they don't know how to use hiring, structuring their organization, career path, talent pipeline. These are all things from HR to build a business that's sustainable.
Oh, definitely. I think, leading on from what you said, I think your own personal values come into it as well, and your values can change over time, right? So if you suddenly have a new family, or if you get to a financial level that you're more comfortable with, do you need to be doing the same level of hours that you once did? But unless you have that point in time, or to really check your values, check your business direction, and that you are heading in the right direction, it's so important to sort of recalibrate. Because as we said, quite often through growth of a business, you will break your systems and processes.
Absolutely.
And then you'll have to go and rebuild them.
That's right,
rebuild them again.
That rings very true for me. Many times in the business, something worked really well when we had 5 staff, and then when we had 20, it just failed miserably.
Yeah.
And then when we had 30, it failed again. And so you're constantly, your business is evolving, and anytime you get stuck where you're not able to scale any further, it means that there's a lesson for you to learn. And until you learn that lesson, you're going to be stuck there. And so I encourage you, if you've kind of plateaued for a while, take a step back and maybe get some advice. I personally feel that when you're too close to the problem, it's very hard to see it clearly. And so you need either a coach or a mentor of some kind. I personally like to get a lot of advice from people with a diverse range of experience. People within the industry, people from outside the industry as well.
Oh, that's great advice. And something that we're trying to do with our business is have those mastermind groups where you can network with not only myself as your coach, but a number of other different businesses as part of the community to get that advice to. Because there's nothing that can't be solved if you get a great bunch of like-minded and intelligent people together. It's amazing what you can come up with once you just put it on the table.
That was something that was really, really important for me for growing my business. Once a month, I would meet up with a group of top brokers, and also once a month, I'd meet up with a group of top business owners who are outside the industry.
Yeah.
And it's rare that I've had a problem. In fact, I can't think of any that someone in one of those two groups hasn't faced before.
Yeah.
And so when you've got that support behind you, success is not a one-person sport; it's a team sport.
Exactly. I love the quote. You don't network to get business. Yeah. You network to do business. And it's the same with building the relationships with the credit teams and the state managers and the relationship managers. And it's the same as your peers. It's the same as your referral partners. You might not necessarily get business from them, but it will make it easier for you to do your job, because you can pick up the phone and go, "Hey,
absolutely,
I've got this one. What would you do in this situation?" So anything else? Any final tips before we leave on scaling? Anything you think we've missed?
On scaling, I think there's a few short tips. Personally, I found leadership training very helpful. Okay. You'll find that if you're really going to grow a team, then it's no longer about you, it's about the team.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different skill set to being a top broker.
Yes.
So you've got to learn how to be a professional manager and learn how to be a leader.
Yeah.
And I think as well, a lot of brokers are not implementing business best practice. So if you go and talk to successful businesses and you look at just their rhythms and routines, how do they manage their business, you'll see a lot of common things, like that they're always constantly looking for customer feedback. Yes. And then they've got a feedback cycle to then improve what they're doing based on that feedback. And it's happening all the time.
Exactly.
You see that all of them become masters at hiring. You see that all of them use visual management. So they have a dashboard. So everyone in the team can quickly see how they're doing. And so there's a lot of things like this that brokers can do. And I recommend that keep it really simple. You don't need to do anything fancy.
The KISS principle, exactly.
We overcomplicated things way too much, way too early.
So on that, if there was just a couple of top 3 metrics in a broking business.
Yeah, so I would look at lead indicators.
Yeah.
So a lag indicator is something like settlements.
Yeah.
It's very accurate, but it takes a long time to get that number, right? Whereas a lead indicator might be something like number of phone calls made, number of appointments, number of applications assessed, something that's right at the front of the process.
I saw in one of the business yesterday the number of fact finds completed and received in that particular week. So, I think those things, because they're the things that are quicker that you can actually change. Settlements that are happening is work that you've done three months ago. Right? It's a result. It's not something that shows the activity. And I was really impressed by your boards out there that show, you can see the number of outbound phone calls that your teams make. You can see the activity, which then will lead and flow on to the results.
And that's critical for if you're going to scale, because as you scale, you lose visibility. When it's 2 people, you know exactly what's happening in the business. When it's 20, you've got no idea.
Yeah. Key technologies, any key technologies for scale? Any sort of tips?
For us, we haven't done anything too crazy with technology. We're building some technology. But that aside, we're using mostly the same software as other connecting brokers. We mostly just use Mercury, and we use G Suite, which is Google for Business. And we find that fits our needs. What we find, we see a lot of brokers out there adding on additional CRMs and things like that. It just overcomplicates things, in my opinion. There are some businesses that do need it, but I think the vast majority of brokers keep it simple. And to build technology costs millions of dollars. But if someone else builds it, then you can usually get software as a service for like $10 a month. Right?
Exactly.
So just wait for someone to build it and then implement it.
Great tips. Well, I just wanted to say thanks for joining us today. It's been, you've shared a wealth of information, and I think it will add a lot of value, which is what we're here to do, is to sort of give back and help the broking community become more professional as a whole. So, thanks very much for your time, Otto.
My pleasure.